You know that feeling. You're in an English conversation, maybe meeting someone new, and you just freeze up a bit when it's time to introduce yourself.
Oh, definitely. It seems so simple, but getting it wrong feels awkward, and getting it right can, well, really smooth the way.
Yeah, it can really stick in your throat sometimes, can it? You want to sound natural, make a good connection, but yeah, not always sure how.
It's such a core skill, though.
Yeah,
Nail those first few lines, and it just, boosts your confidence for the rest of the chat. So it's a good vibe.
absolutely. And that's exactly what we're digging into. Today, we've been listening to a conversation from the Everyday English podcast.
Ah, yes, episode 1, the one titled Master the Art of Introducing Yourself in English.
That's the one. And it really focuses on those like foundational phrases you need. Think of this deep dive as getting you really comfortable, really prepped for meeting people.
It's amazing how much is packed into just a simple hello and what's your name, isn't it? The politeness, the level of formality.
Totally. So our mission here is pretty clear. We want to break this down so you feel ready and confident introducing yourself in English, just everyday stuff.
Sounds good. Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's get to the actual conversation they used as an example. It started off,
Pretty standard opening.
yeah, it was. Hi there, I'm John. May I know your name?
And the reply, hello, John. I'm Sarah. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Then John comes back with, the pleasure's mine, Sarah. Where are you from?
Followed by, I'm from London. What about you?
And John says, I'm from New York.
And Sarah keeps it rolling. That's wonderful. What do you do for a living?
Right. And John's answer was, I'm currently a student and I'm working on improving my English. What about you?
And Sarah wraps it up. I'm an English teacher, and I absolutely love helping learners from around the world speak with confidence.
Phew. Okay. So quite a bit there, but it flows, doesn't it?
It does. Very natural, covers the basics quickly and quite warmly.
Let's really break down that very first line then. Hi there, I'm John. May I know your name? What's happening here?
Well, starting with hi there, it's friendly, isn't it? A bit more casual than just hi or hello.
Yeah, it feels a bit more approachable.
Exactly. It signals a relaxed setting. You probably wouldn't use hi there starting a super formal business presentation, for instance.
Good point.
Yeah.
So context matters. Good morning might be better there.
Right. Then I'm John. The podcast noted this is just like saying my name is John, but more common in speech.
Why is that? Just flows better.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
That contraction just rolls off the tongue easier in conversation. My name is can sound a tiny bit, I don't know, stiff sometimes.
Like you're reading from a script.
Sort of, yeah. Unless you're maybe clarifying or in a very formal spot. Usually it's I'm.
Okay, makes sense. Naturalness. And the question part, may I know your name? Why that specific wording?
Oh, well, the word may is doing a lot of work there. It makes it really polite.
How so?
It turns it from a direct command like tell me your name or even a blunter what's your name into a soft request. It shows respect.
So less demanding.
Exactly. It kind of acknowledges the other person's choice. Could I ask your name? Does something similar, also very polite.
That politeness really counts, especially first impressions. Sets
Yeah.
the whole mood.
It really does.
Okay, so Sarah replies, hello, John. I'm Sarah. It's a pleasure to meet you. Let's zoom in on it's a pleasure to meet you.
Right. This is a lovely one. It's a step up in formality and maybe sincerity from the very common, nice to meet you.
A step up how?
Well, nice to meet you is great, totally fine, very standard, but it's a pleasure just feels a bit more heartfelt. It suggests you're genuinely happy about the meeting.
It sounds a bit more emphatic, maybe? Carries more positive weight?
Precisely. Pleasure is just a stronger positive word than nice in this context. It's a small choice, but it can subtly shift how your enthusiasm comes across.
Interesting. Okay, then John replies, the pleasure's mine, Sarah. Where are you from? Let's talk the pleasure's mine.
Yeah, neat little phrase. It's the standard polite way to respond to, it's a pleasure to meet you. Basically says, hey, the feeling's mutual.
So it completes that politeness loop.
Exactly. And then notice the smooth transition straight into, where are you from?
Yeah, that seems like a really common follow-up.
Totally. It's a simple, non-intrusive way to find out a bit more background. Hometown, country, whatever they want to share.
And it's open-ended, right? They could say London or England or even just Europe.
Right. It gives them control but opens the door. Maybe you find some common ground, oh, London, I visited there last year, that kind of thing. It sparks more conversation.
Good point. Okay, next question from Sarah. What do you do for a living?
The podcast flagged this as the typical native speaker way to ask about work.
That's right. You could ask, what's your job?
Mm.
But it sounds a little blunt, maybe less common.
So what do you do for a living is better. Why?
It's broader, I think. It
Mm-hmm.
covers more than just a traditional job. Like
Mm.
John is a student, that's what he does, even if it's not a paid job. It could also cover being retired or volunteering or freelancing.
Ah, okay. So it's about their main sort of professional activity or how they spend their working time. Yeah, essentially. It just feels more natural and encompassing in most everyday chats.
It's funny how these small phrasing differences add up to sounding more, well, fluent or natural.
They really do.
Yeah.
Using these common patterns helps you blend in, sound less like you're translating in your head or reciting phrases. It's about picking the language that fits.
So when we look back at this whole exchange, what's the big takeaway for someone learning English?
I think it's realizing the impact of these, seemingly small choices, the greeting, the question phrasing, how you respond to politeness. It all paints a picture.
It's not just vocabulary.
Not at all. It's understanding the why behind the words. Why may I feels different from what's, grasping that social layer underneath the language.
Right. It helps you navigate. Knowing the function of the phrase,
Yeah.
not just its definition. So you sound polite, you sound natural, and that builds confidence for everyone involved, actually.
Exactly. And when you get comfortable with these basics, your brain is frayed up a bit, right? You can focus more on actually listening and connecting, not just worrying about the next correct word.
Okay, quick recap then. We looked at hi there, friendly, casual, I'm, natural contraction, may I know your name, polite request.
Mm-hmm. Then, it's a pleasure to meet you. Sincere, slightly more formal, positive feeling. And the response, the pleasure's mine.
And the standard follow-ups, where are you from? Open-ended background question. And what do you do for a living? The common way to ask about occupation or main activity.
And seeing how they all chain together to make a smooth, respectful opening.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening, getting comfortable with these phrases, understanding the why behind them, that's a huge step. It's like laying down the essential tracks for smooth conversations.
It really is. Build that strong base and everything else becomes easier.
Now, thinking about this, it
Mhm.
does make you wonder. These phrases are pretty standard in, say, American or British English contexts. But how much does culture change things?
Ah, that's a really important question.
Like, is asking, what do you do for a living? Quite so early. Always okay everywhere. Some cultures might find that a bit too direct, maybe even personal, right at the start.
Absolutely. Directness varies hugely. In some places, you might need more small talk, more indirect questions before getting to occupation or even origin.
So what other ways might people phrase these initial questions, or what cues should we look for? It makes you think about the variations you might need depending on who you're talking to and where.
Definitely. Being aware of potential cultural differences in, say, directness or topics considered safe for initial chats is crucial. It adds another layer to communication skill. That's maybe something to keep an ear out for.
Worth considering for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, mastering these foundational English phrases we discussed, that's your immediate toolkit.
Yep. Get comfortable with them, practice them, listen for them. It'll make a real difference to your confidence in starting those conversations.
Build that base and watch your conversational fluency grow.